Welcome back to Onward to Victory for the final time this semester and this school year. My name is Colgin Hirschel. Alongside me is Rhiannon, Boesl, and Taylor Gottney. Welcome into the final episode. I mean, it's been an incredible year. We've done 22 of these episodes already, and it's felt like this is just the first one.
Yeah, it's so crazy how the year just literally flew by. I remember how excited we were at the beginning. I mean, we're obviously still excited, but it's just really fun to look back and just see how things have changed from the beginning.
I think it's just funny how much this whole entire show has changed in terms of the behind-the-scenes aspect. I mean, we went from sitting down on Thursdays when our show was on a Friday and working out a plan for what we were going to talk about. Now, being on a Monday, I just text you guys, hey, what are we going to talk about? We just write some quick things down and put it together, and it has honestly improved since the beginning of the year. I mean, we've gotten better. We've been able to, structure the show a little bit better, but it's been a year. It's been a fun year.
I honestly forgot that we used to do it on Fridays, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, first semester Friday show, but
Gosh, yeah.
here we are on a Monday afternoon, Monday, April 28th, 2025. We have a little bit of a different show for you guys here today. We're going to go through some of our favorite moments throughout the year through ASU Athletics, and then finish off with some lowlights from our own personal times. But to start, we're going to give a quick shout out to Arizona State baseball because they just had one of the most insane games, insane weekends against BYU. They set a record for most home runs in a game, an inning, and a series with 8 in the game. They scored 6 in the second inning and 15 in the entire series last weekend. So it was an incredible weekend for sure.
And they definitely needed that. We've been talking about how they kind of go up and down, back and forth, and the way that they just swept BYU, that was definitely needed, and I think that's going to set them off on a good trail for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and we were talking about Isaiah Jackson as well a few weeks ago, and then he hit 2 in the second inning, and then Brody Briggs, the guy that him and Josiah Cromwell kind of switch here and there for catcher based on who the pitcher is, but Brody Briggs having 2 in that inning too. So again, this baseball team has a lot of potential. The Jackson Grand Slam that really kind of put the nail in the coffin, putting ASU up 12-0, but it was good. I believe they swept BYU. Of course, BYU is not the greatest baseball team, but again, it's a Big 12 opponent. You take care of business and you do your work.
So with that all done, we'll start off with each of our favorite games throughout the Arizona State season. It's across any sport, so me being a hockey fan of myself, I'm going to start off with Game 2 of the NCHC quarterfinal, which I had the opportunity of covering for WCSN, and it was honestly probably one of the greatest hockey games that I've seen in a long, long time, especially from that vantage point. But it was just chaos the entire time. They went down 3-0 in the first, battled back and scored 3 within the first 4 minutes of the second period. There's Taylor again with the ring. And then a late game comeback and won it in overtime. It was 2 goals from Artem Schlane, the game winner by Ryan Kerwin in overtime. But it was just one of the most incredible games that I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's been really fun to, watch the hockey team in general this year, just, coming out on fire, and especially with you, Colgin, being such a big hockey fan, I feel like I learned a lot, and it was always so much fun, as we prepped for the shows, being able to, do some research and also just learn from you. So, yeah, definitely really great game and great team to watch.
Yeah, and Colgin and I were just talking about, their schedule coming up. It's going to be a fun one again. Of course, last season we started out with Michigan in the early season. Now we have Penn State at home, and then Ohio State and Penn State, 2 teams that just made the NCAA, tournament. So it's going to be a fun hockey season, a lot of great home games, a lot of great classics as well, with the Desert Classic coming here. And then I think the hockey team, stay on a come up, and I think next year we'll see some similar results.
Yeah, and they are hosting 2 in-season tournaments. They were on the original schedule that the team posted out. They were scheduled to play a mid-season tournament in New Hampshire, but now on the schedule it just says they're going to play a 2-game series against Dartmouth. So I don't know what's going to happen with that, but we'll wait and see on that. But 2 in-season tournaments. They got the Icebreaker tournament, which will see Notre Dame and Quinnipiac, 2 really good hockey teams, come to Mullet Arena. And then in the middle, in January 2nd, January 3rd, it'll be Michigan Tech, Air Force, and Alaska. So just some big names coming into Mullet Arena to play hockey that 2-3 years ago you would have never seen walk in here.
Yeah, and just a quick little shout out for Colin Potter. He's actually on the U18 USA's men's world championship team. So, he came in. We already knew that he was going to be a beast. He has that family legacy to, carry on. But he absolutely has showed up this year, and it's just so cool to see the way he's excelling. And I'm just so interested to see what he's going to bring next year. Do you think he's going to continue to remain at
So
ASU?
he is currently listed as a projected early second-round draft pick in the NHL draft this year, which is July, I believe, right after the playoffs finish up. It'll be his decision if he wants to come back, as well as whichever team he gets drafted by. My guess is he'll come back to college hockey, whether that is with Arizona State or someone else if he enters the portal. I don't know, but that'll be kind of up to him. But, yeah, I mean, you mentioned the U18 team. He's also with Lincoln Keene and Ben Keevan, who are two guys who are coming into Arizona State. They're committed. I don't know if they're going to play here either next year, but a lot of potential for Arizona State for the future. So we'll move to our next favorite moment. I'll let Taylor Gottney introduce this one.
Yeah, so I had the pleasure of going to Dallas as a fan for the Big 12 championship for football. I remember we beat U of A, we whooped them, and then we had to wait on the TCU-Cincinnati game to see if ASU was going to make it over BYU, Colorado, such as that, with that whole tiebreaker deal. And then ASU did make it against Iowa State. Iowa State was currently the top dog in the Big 12. Everyone thought we were going to lose. A lot of people didn't have a lot of, hope for us. We were ranked number 15th going into that game. And then, getting to go to Dallas, see Levitt have his best game, only 17 pass attempts and 3 touchdowns with a QB rating of 99.1. Then, of course, Scadaboo. You go back to that game, you hear Joe Tessitore, the calls that he had, the highlights that Scadaboo had. 16 carries for 170 yards and 2 touchdowns. And those 2 touchdowns were really 2 of his best runs, just breaking off tackles left and right. And then, of course, the defense forced 3 turnovers, 1 interception, and 2 fumbles recovered. So all around, it was just a really good game for ASU, winning that 45-19. The atmosphere was crazy, of course, being all the way in Dallas, basically halfway across the country. ASU showed out, and it was just an amazing sight to see, amazing game.
Yeah, and you mentioned Scadaboo a lot. We're going to touch on him a little bit in a little bit. Obviously, he had just had a big weekend as well with the draft, but that was one of the craziest games I've ever seen, that Big 12 championship game.
Yeah.
I mean, they killed them. They were not supposed to do that. They killed them. They murdered them. It was a bloodbath for Arizona State against Iowa State.
And it was just the momentum that ASU had. I feel like everyone was kind of just still in shock of how well they were playing. So it was every game that they won, it was oh, okay, are they going to do it again? Are they going to do it again? And it wasn't just they won, which is fantastic, and all of us are that's amazing. But the way that they blew them out of the water, and they just performed so well. It was just such an exciting time, I feel for all of ASU, just seeing where is this going, and obviously it took them very far. So yeah, great game for sure.
Yeah, and the schedule next year, again, this team, like the hockey team, has so much potential, so many transfers coming in, so many recruits coming in. I mean, the schedule, you look at the home schedule, the Big 12 schedule, we play at Mississippi State. That's kind of a hard game. And then you come back against easier Big 12 opponents. You have a lot of tough away games, especially Iowa State, Colorado. It'll be interesting to see what they can do.
Yeah, and it's going to be an interesting season next year. Obviously, you're losing Cam Scadabo, who we'll touch on right now. He was the cornerstone of the entire team. I mean, that Peach Bowl game really showed it. He showed out, had a massive passing touchdown, reception, just went off in that game. And I think that's kind of why he went where he did in the draft. He was drafted in the 4th round by the New York Giants, which I am very upset about. The Chicago Bears were 5 picks away from the Giants. The Giants draft Scadabo, Bears trade their pick. So if the Giants don't draft Scat, you never know. He might come to Chi-Town, but that's a different universe. But he was the face of ASU this year. I mean, an underdog guy, came from Sacramento State, was not really supposed to be, anything, and he finished with Heisman votes. I mean, it sums up everything that Arizona State means this year in just one man.
Yeah, and like reflecting on that Peach Bowl game, Texas defense was wild. They played so well, and they were, ASU was getting pretty beat up for the first part of the game, but Scadaboo he kept pushing through. You could see by the end of the game, like, they're exhausted, but he finished the day with 143 yards, 2 touchdowns rushing, 99 yards receiving with that 42-yard touchdown pass you were mentioning earlier. He established the program record with 21 rushing touchdowns in a season and 24 total touchdowns in a season. Like, he just there's no one like him. He played so well this year and just got everyone so fired up. And I'm really, really excited to see how he, goes in the NFL.
Yeah, and I think it was definitely a good pick, especially in the 4th round. Scadaboo coming in was the ranked 3rd running back. You look around different draft rankings, everyone has different, but you look at guys like Ashton Genty, Travion Henderson that went before him, a little bit of a reach for some of those running backs, but getting Scadaboo in the 4th round for the Giants, I think it's a perfect pick. And also in that Peach Bowl, for the first time ever, the team that lost had the offensive MVP because, let's be honest, ASU deserved to win that game.
Yeah, and it also wasn't just Scat. It was also Sam Levitt. He carried his own weight as well. He played decently well. I mean, he had a couple of mishaps here and there, but I think this is going to be a big prove-it season for him this year. I mean, he had an amazing season last year. He's a Heisman potential. Like, he's a prediction to win the Heisman. But I think that this is a big prove year for him if he really wants to make an impact in the draft.
Yeah, and especially we were talking about Scadaboo. You lose a guy like that, the offense is going to have to go to more, pass-heavy spread offense. And I just love Sam Levitt. I could go on and on about how great of a player he is. Coming in from Michigan State, a redshirt freshman there, didn't play a lot. Comes to ASU and people don't really expect anything from him. 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and 80 QB rating on the season. That was best 9th in the country. And like you said, has really good Heisman odds. I believe he's in the top 15, top 10. But yeah, a prove-it season for him. All the stuff that he can do. And in that spring game, we really saw what he can do.
Yeah, and just to shout out my favorite athlete of the year, we're going to go with Mary Schroll, the graduate senior libero at volleyball. She just was an absolute beast. And especially I used to be libero, so obviously I looked up to her a little bit. But she ended the year number 48 in the NCAA for digs per set. And she led the team with 522 digs this year. Like, she was all over the court every single game. She was a Big 12 Libero of the Year. She was named to the 2024 Fall Academic All-Big 12 team, AVCA All-Region, AVCA All-American Honorable Mention. She ended the year with 24 aces. She was drafted to the Vegas Thrill. And, yeah, she just was a beast all year. It was so fun watching her and just watching this ASU volleyball team. They played so well. They went really far. Unfortunately, they didn't go as far as we hoped. But just to see the way that all these ASU teams are just doing so well in the new conference especially. And, yeah, Mary Schroll, just shout out. She did so well this year, and I'm excited to see what she does for Vegas Thrill.
Yeah, and another player that, is getting recognition in the conference, got named to the All-Big 12 first team, the Big 12 Libero of the Year. And with how good Big 12 volleyball has been in recent years, how it's been on the rise. Again, it's another sport that ASU is competing in and having players perform at the top of levels.
Yeah, it kind of shows, like, what Arizona State had as well, like, the entirety of the year. They were really good in almost every sport, and Mary Schroll is one of those players that kind of was one of the better players for her team. Scadaboo, Sam Levitt. I mean, you look at all these players, you even can touch on Colin Potter a little bit. I mean, he didn't really show out as much as some of these other players, but there was definitely players on their team. Now you're looking at Arizona State baseball. Matt King has turned it up as of late. You got these individual players that just really bolster the lineup and actually, like, make them perform as well as they should.
Yeah, and, one athlete can just change so much for a team, and especially with a game like volleyball, you really need to have that aggressive but also uplifting player to lift everyone up. And, this team just played so well together, and you can see that, honestly, throughout almost all of Arizona State's sports, I feel like the teams work really well together, and they've all had some adversity with injuries and things like that. But yeah, Mary Schroll, she just led this team so well, and I'm really eager to see who they end up putting as libero this next year.
Yeah, and two more athletes that I kind of want to focus on that we're focusing on favorite athletes. You know, you got to shout out Boesl, the guy that just competed in the Masters, the guy that's lifted Arizona State golf to new heights as of late. Of course, you had the era where you had Mickelson come in, and now Boesl. You had John Rahm back then, and Boesl has really picked it up. Of course, the 2024 U.S. Amateur Champion. Of course, got to play in the Masters. Didn't do too well. Had a lot of, controversy around him, but, great guy. One of my friends, Jack Kemmler, got to interview him, says he's just a great guy, super nice. And then one more that I want to highlight is Bor Artnock for the men's tennis team. The men's tennis team and women's tennis team actually just got announced. For tennis, they do kind of a March Madness bracket. They have an announcement show and everything where they say who's going where. And so ASU will play USC. But I just want to shout out Bor Artnock and that entire men's tennis team. Of course, Bor's the number 1 ranked Slovenian tennis player in the world. I believe he's ranked about 200th to 400th range. Once he's out of college, he's going to be a pro player. He's going to make a lot of differences and be another name that you hear for a while. So just wanted to shout out him and Boesl for really putting – you talk about Sam Levitt, you talk about Mary Schroll, you talk about Cam Scottaboo putting ASU on the map. I think those two players, for kind of the smaller market sports, also put them on the map.
Yeah, and for sure. And like you said, these players, I feel like it's really important that we give them the recognition because – they're getting global, national recognition and just really representing ASU well. So, yeah, definitely shout out to them. Very talented athletes, for sure.
Yeah, so in this episode, we're just going to keep powering on. We're not going to take any breaks and just rattle off as many moments as we can. And we'll start, I think, with probably one of the best moments that all of us could have or did attend. It was one of the best home games this entire year, the end of the BYU football game. I mean, I was there. It was one of the craziest moments, I think, of my entire life in terms of a sporting event. Just being able to run out on the field when we think it's over. Obviously Sam Levitt chucks it in the air. Some people may disagree with that, myself included. I think that they should have gone for a touchdown because,
Or just kneeled the ball.
Or just kneel it, yeah. You score a touchdown as well. It's just like they can't come back. I don't know. Really questionable decision by Dillingham. But nonetheless, fans run out on the field. Still 2 seconds left to play. They're standing there for 15, 20 minutes trying to get people on the sidelines. And they do the last play. Everyone thinks it's almost a touchdown as it's on the 2. And then fans come out again.
You were right by Dillingham, too.
I was.
You were patting him on the back and everything. I remember that.
It was one of the more surreal moments, just being able to sit there and, listen to his conversation. You hear all, the mic'd up and, guys talking about and lip reading John Boy, all that. And just being able to stand there and listen to what he had to say, him yelling at the referee and just take that all in was one of the crazier moments. I mean, just it felt like I was on the sideline, through a camera, but it was just me standing there.
Yeah, I watched that game on TV, and that was just the most surreal thing I think I've ever watched because it was just what is going on? I feel like that's only at an ASU game that would happen. The team rushes the field and then is no, you got to go back. But it was just so exciting and honestly a little bit hilarious to watch.
Yeah, I feel like that game was kind of more hyped up than not the Peach Bowl, of course, but the Big 12 championship because that game was if we win this, we really have a shot at winning the Big 12 against BYU, who's been on fire all season, who's really proved that they're them and Iowa State are kind of the top 2 in the Big 12 at that point. And then there was that whole thing with is College game day going to come? Of course they didn't. But also that game on TV on main channel ESPN, watching that while I'm in Los Angeles with one of my friends and my family, it was just a great sight to see.
It was just it felt like an NFL game in terms of the coverage for a college sport, which I believe that college sports should be getting more, national coverage. I know a lot of the Big 12 games or all the Big 10 games are on NBC.
Yeah, the main one.
And a lot of like all of them are on ESPN and ESPN Plus. But I think that every single game like that should be broadcasted because there were so many field rushes last year. I think there was like 6 or 7 within the first couple weeks. I mean, Arizona State did it once against Utah.
Did you guys? Was it the first game too?
No, it was week.
What, against Utah? Yeah.
Week 5, I
It
think.
was like when everyone wore black, huh?
Yeah, and we'll touch on that as well because the hockey game was before that, the first home game at Mullet, first conference game. But it was crazy just to, be in that atmosphere. People were going crazy after the interception. I mean, I've never heard of a stadium louder in my life.
Yeah, and kind of touching on Kenny Dillingham, of course, the savior of ASU football, the guy that's...
Happy birthday to Kenny as well.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Shout out to
Yeah,
him.
Happy birthday.
I got to meet him at that hockey game against Michigan. My first in real life hockey game ever. Growing up in the South, did not have hockey. I've said that over and over again. But meeting him, he's in the stands. Everyone's lining up to take a picture with him. Didn't reject a single person. Took pictures with everyone before a huge game against ranked Utah at home Friday night,
Which they also won.
which they did also win. Kenny Dillingham, I met him at Auburn one time when he was there, and then of course he went to Oregon to follow Bo Nix, and then he went to Florida State as an assistant, and then got the call to his dream job at ASU. So everywhere he's been, he's always been that steady, nice guy, and you saw that at the Michigan game. He's just super nice, super down to earth, and I think he's going to be the ASU football coach for a very long time.
Yeah, he's also a bit funny too. Like I feel like at the end of every game, especially when the field would be rushed, he was just like, "That's my team. I'm so proud of this team." Like he was just such a hype coach, and it's just so funny the way that like he connects so well with his athletes, but he also knows when to be serious, when to switch that role. And I just also want to touch on the first ASU game. Just that's my personal favorite moment, just because I feel like that was just a really big shocker for everyone, going 48-7 against Wyoming, and especially seeing Leavitt.
We'll get to the flubs later on. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Watching Leavitt in his first career start, it was just a really great game.
Yeah, that game was super fun. Of course, the second largest student attendance in 2010 at 13,600. Of course, it went up for the Utah BYU games going throughout the year, and then next year, I don't even want to know how hard it's going to be to get into that student section. But yeah, do you talk about another game where ASU kind of came in not favored to lose, but not favored to win 48-7 against Wyoming?
I mean, they weren't
expecting.
supposed to win by 41. We'll say that.
It was one of those games that's like, here's a small opponent, here's kind of a football team that's been struggling the past few years. We'll see what happens. That game on Fox Sports 1, of course, Colgin and I believe we were on TV a few times.
Oh, dude, we were on TV, I want to say 20
we were always in
times
the
this
front
year.
row.
I remember being with my mom, seeing Colgin on TV, and I'm just like, wow, I know him.
I probably wasn't wearing a shirt either.
Nope.
But, it was just one of those times where it still seems so surreal. That first few couple months of going to these games and just being there and just getting national coverage and being on TV and just having all these crazy moments happen, just like every single week it seemed like I was texting my mom saying, "Oh, this happened, and it just got kind of crazier and crazier and crazier every single time.
Yeah, and like no one let up. I feel like the team, they stayed aggressive, the fans, they stayed on fire, and I feel like the whole valley kind of rallied around ASU, and it makes me think of when the Suns were in the championship and everyone was rooting for the Suns, like the community came together. So that's kind of reminded me of this year.
So we have a couple minutes left in this show. We're going to go over just a couple of the bloopers from this year. We won't go into depth too quickly, but just a couple that come to our mind was the funniest one for me is definitely all the flubs. I mean, Skatibo,
Yeah.
all of these different times we've called players.
There was one time I just stopped talking. I could not say his name. I was like, okay, you can take my point.
I wonder how many times throughout the show his name was mispronounced.
Well, we probably won't know all of them, considering that there were sometimes I forgot to record these. That's another one of my, I wouldn't say favorite times, but, forgot to record, didn't upload, was just all around fail. Couldn't get the audio to work one time with my parents sitting in the studio over from us, so that That was definitely fun.
But to add on top of that, that episode ended up going so smooth afterwards.
It was
because
it was a
we were,
great episode, especially having my mom come on
I
and
don't
talk.
even think I was there.
You were not.
Yeah, in
You
the
were
fall,
gone for all of the fall.
Yeah, basically the second week of October to winter break, I was just not in Arizona. I was in LA, Dallas. Where else? Denver, home, everywhere across the country.
Yeah, and I just want to touch on my biggest one. I was so excited to learn all about gymnastics to cover it for you guys, and literally the second that we began the show, I just couldn't speak at all, and that was heartbreaking. So, but those are good memories.
And I still don't know hockey.
Well, that'll do it for our very last episode of Onward to Victory for this year. It's been an honor. It's been a pleasure getting to work with both of you two this semester, this entire year. It's been one of the best times I could spend my Monday afternoon, and just being able to be through this whole process has been incredible.
Yes, thank you guys so much. This has been an absolute blast, and just getting to know both you guys and all the sports and just being able to engage in new ways. So such a great blessing, such a great opportunity, and I'm so grateful.
So for one final time, my name is Colgin Hirschel.
I'm Rhiannon Boesl.
And I'm Taylor Gottney.
Thank you very much for listening.